Introduction. The hidden tuning. There comes a season in life when the soul stops being impressed by noise. It may still move through work, family, responsibility, money, health, memory, and ordinary human concern, but something deeper begins to ask a different kind of question. Not simply, how do I get more? Not simply, how do I escape pain? Not even, how do I prove that I was right? The question becomes quieter and more powerful. What current has been carrying my life, and what current am I finally ready to enter? Many people spend years trying to push life with force. They push the body, push the mind, push relationships, push money, push doors that remain closed, and push themselves through days that feel heavy before they even begin. At first, force appears noble. It looks like discipline. It looks like responsibility. It looks like strength. But after enough years, the honest person discovers that force without alignment becomes exhaustion. A life can be busy and still be out of tune. A person can be ambitious and still be inwardly scattered. A heart can be sincere and still be broadcasting fear. This book speaks to the hidden current beneath events. It is the current of thought, word, emotion, expectation, identity, memory, vitality, and grace. It is the invisible river by which the outer life is constantly being met. You are not merely reacting to the world, you are meeting the world through a state, and the state you carry becomes part of the world that answers you. The divine is not distant from this process. God is not a remote authority, watching from somewhere beyond the stars while your days unfold in abandonment. The presence of God is intimate, intelligent, responsive, and nearer than breath. Yet nearness does not mean reception. A radio may be surrounded by stations and still hear only static if the dial is not tuned. A heart may be surrounded by grace and still experience only struggle if its inner instrument has been trained by fear, resentment, lack, and old pain. This is not a teaching of blame. Blame lowers the signal. Blame turns the soul against itself and calls that honesty. The work here is responsibility, not punishment. Responsibility says that if an inner pattern was trained, it can be retrained. If a heart learned fear, it can learn trust. If speech has cursed the future, speech can begin to bless it. If the body has carried tension for decades, the body can be invited into another atmosphere. If attention has been trained to search for danger, it can be trained to recognize guidance. The second half of life is not a spiritual disadvantage. It may be the first time a person is mature enough to understand the teaching without turning it into fantasy. Youth often wants miracle without stewardship. Maturity understands that the visible world has laws, that the body must be honored, that money must be handled, that relationships require truth, and that prayer is not a way of escaping responsibility. It is a way of entering responsibility with a different frequency. You have lived long enough to know that anxiety does not guarantee safety. You have worried and still faced what you feared. You have planned and still met surprise. You have forced and still watched certain doors remain closed. Yet you may also have seen strange mercies, help arriving at the exact hour, strength appearing when you believed you were empty, a conversation changing a path, a delay protecting you, a loss revealing a deeper road. These are not random fragments. They are signals. The purpose of this reading is to help you listen. Not listen in a vague way, but listen with the whole instrument of your being. Listen to the mirror of circumstances. Listen to the soil of the subconscious. Listen to the words you release. Listen to the timing of the harvest. Listen to the heart that broadcasts before the mouth speaks. Listen to the body as a sacred transmitter. Listen to attention as a compass. Listen to identity as the garment that determines what can stay. Listen to relationships as echoes. Listen to grace as the river beneath effort. Do not treat these ideas as decoration. A spiritual idea that remains only beautiful language cannot rebuild a life. A sentence must become breath, speech, sleep, posture, choice, and repetition. The invisible becomes practical when it enters the morning. The bill, the ache, the conversation, the meal, the apology, the boundary, and the hour before sleep. If skepticism is present, do not fight it. Let it sit quietly in the room. Mature faith does not collapse because a question enters, but do not let skepticism become a locked gate before the teaching has worked upon you. Test the current through practice. Notice what happens when the day begins with gratitude instead of dread. Notice what happens when you stop calling yourself broken. Notice what happens when you bless the money that leaves your hand. Notice what happens when you speak to the body as an ally rather than an enemy. The proof will not come through argument alone. It will come through lived evidence. This journey is not about becoming someone else in order to be accepted by God. It is about removing the static that kept you from receiving what was already moving toward you. The signal has not abandoned you. The current has not stopped. The field has not closed. The question is whether the instrument is ready to be tuned. Take a slow breath now. Let the shoulders release. Let the mind stop reaching forward for a moment. The current is nearer than effort. The divine is nearer than fear. The life you have been trying to force may begin to open differently when you learn how to enter the current that was waiting beneath the struggle. Before we enter the first chapter, take one quiet moment to notice how this teaching is meeting you. Some messages are not meant to be consumed quickly. They are meant to be returned to, heard again, and allowed to work slowly beneath the surface. If this path is resonating with something deeper in you, subscribe and remain connected to this channel, because each book is created for the part of the soul that is ready to awaken, remember, and live from a higher current. Chapter 1. The world that answers. The visible world seems final until the soul learns to read it. A closed door looks like denial. A difficult body looks like limitation. A financial shortage looks like punishment. A strained relationship looks like proof that love is unsafe. The senses report the surface with such authority that most people become servants of appearance. They look at what is happening and conclude that this is the whole truth. But life is not only a wall, it is also a field of response. It reflects hidden agreements, repeated expectations, emotional climates, and the invisible posture from which a person approaches existence. This does not mean every event is consciously chosen. It does not mean pain is imaginary or that responsibility disappears. It means that the surface is not the whole story. The world answers more than our effort. It answers our state. Two people may enter the same circumstance and receive two different worlds from it. One enters fear and finds confirmation of danger. Another enters quiet trust and notices help, timing, and options. The circumstance is similar, but the relationship to circumstance is different. That relationship becomes creative. Imagine standing before a great mirror. The mirror does not argue with you. It does not shame you. It does not flatter you. It reflects what is presented. If the reflection is disordered, the wise person does not fight the glass. The wise person returns to the original. Life becomes exhausting when we keep trying to repair reflections while leaving the original untouched. Money can be a mirror. It may reveal fear around receiving, confusion around value, guilt around having, resentment around spending, or lack of order in stewardship. The body can be a mirror. It may reveal years of tension, neglected rest, stored grief, unspoken anger, or the belief that aging must be a surrender of vitality. Relationships can be mirrors. They may reveal boundaries, self-worth, projection, expectation, and hidden loyalty to old wounds. To call something a mirror is not to accuse yourself. Accusation weakens the instrument. It is to become curious. What is being shown? What pattern is being repeated? What expectation keeps arriving dressed as event? What emotion has become normal? What inner sentence has life been faithfully answering? The mature seeker stops asking only, "Why is this happening to me?" That question has its place, but it is incomplete. A stronger question is, what is this revealing through me? What state is being exposed? What belief is asking to be revised? What part of me has been standing before the mirror and expecting the reflection to change first? There is an echo in the world. What has been sent often returns after the sender has already begun to change. This is why early transformation can be confusing. You begin speaking differently, feeling differently, praying differently. And still the old bill arrives, the old ache appears, the old conversation repeats itself. The fearful mind says nothing is changing. The wiser mind says this may be an echo. An echo is not a new command. It is the return of an old sound. If you panic and feed the echo, you create the same pattern again. If you stand calmly and refuse to renew the old frequency, the echo begins to lose authority. This is one of the first disciplines of inner mastery. Do not rebuild an old world merely because its echo still reaches you. The world that answers you is not always immediate. There is delay in the visible field. A seed does not become fruit in the hour it is planted. A new identity does not become normal to the nervous system in a day. A relationship does not always reorganize after one sincere prayer. Yet the field begins to move when the original changes with consistency. The practical work of this chapter is perception. When something painful appears, meet it responsibly but do not worship it. Pay what must be paid. Make the call. Visit the doctor. Speak the truth. Set the boundary. Then return inward and ask what state you will carry while meeting it. The event is one thing. The state from which it is met is another. The state is where power returns. There is dignity in this. You are not pretending the world is unreal. You are refusing to make the surface your God. You are remembering that the surface is a teacher, not always a tyrant. When blessing appears, learn from that too. Do not dismiss beauty as coincidence. Ask what in you has become available to receive it. Ask what frequency allowed kindness to be recognized. Ask what part of the current you finally entered. The world answers what is repeated with feeling, identity, and expectation. This is why a single hopeful thought may not immediately undo years of fear. But repeated alignment becomes a new original. Repeated gratitude becomes a different posture. Repeated blessing becomes a different atmosphere. Repeated trust becomes a different face before the mirror. Let the first law be simple. Do not fight the mirror before examining the original. Do not curse the reflection before listening to what it reveals. The world is not merely happening outside you. It is meeting you, echoing you, teaching you, and inviting you to stand before it with a clearer signal. A mirror can feel cruel when a person does not understand it. If the reflection is painful, the first impulse is to blame the glass. We blame the economy, the family, the body, the past, the partner, the government, the doctor, the employer, the age, the missed opportunity. Some of these factors may indeed be real. Wisdom is not blind to conditions, but mastery begins when we ask what remains within our authority, even when conditions are real. The mirror principle restores a form of power that does not depend on denial. You can acknowledge a bank account and still refuse to let it define your worth. You can acknowledge a diagnosis and still refuse to make it the name of your being. You can acknowledge a difficult person and still refuse to allow that person to dictate the frequency of your entire day. This is not spiritual bypassing, it is spiritual command. Old reflections often become convincing because they have duration. A pattern that has repeated for 10 years feels more real than a blessing that appeared once. But duration is not divinity. Repetition is not destiny. What has repeated may only reveal what has been sustained. Once the sustaining frequency changes, the pattern begins losing its nourishment, even if the old surface continues for a season. Look for the subtle ways you keep polishing the mirror. Explaining yourself to someone who is committed not to understand you, checking the same fear again and again, replaying the same failure as if shame could improve the outcome, trying to make money feel safe while speaking of it with resentment, trying to make the body heal while treating it as a disappointment. These are attempts to repair the reflection while leaving the original divided. The original is not a single thought. It is the total posture of being. It includes what you assume, what you expect, what you fear, what you bless, what you repeat, what you feel entitled to receive, and what you secretly believe must happen because it has happened before. The mirror answers the posture more than the passing wish. This is why the work is not frantic. It is steady. Some reflections take the form of recurring themes. A person may change cities, jobs, relationships, and routines, yet meet the same emotional pattern in different clothing. At first, this appears to prove that the world is against them, but the repetition may be merciful. It is showing that the pattern is not only located in the outer person or place. Something in the inner arrangement is still calling the same lesson forward. A painful reflection should be treated with both seriousness and softness. Seriousness because it contains instruction. Softness because the soul does not learn well under cruelty. If a pattern of lack appears, examine it without calling yourself a failure. If a pattern of rejection appears, Examine it without deciding you are unlovable. If a pattern of bodily distress appears, examine the total atmosphere without condemning the body. The mirror reveals, so the original can be tended. The mirror also teaches through what you envy. Envy can become poison, but it can also become a message. What another person has that stirs, you may point toward a disowned desire, a possibility you have not allowed, or a part of yourself that has been waiting for permission. Do not worship envy. Translate it. Ask what it is revealing about the life within you that still wants to rise. There are reflections of grace as well. A timely word, an unexpected solution, a calm hour, a gift, a reconciliation, a small improvement, a sudden idea. Many people ignore these because fear has trained them to study only threats. Begin studying mercy with the same intensity you once gave to problems. The mirror becomes more generous when the eye becomes willing to recognize the good. Chapter 2. The soil beneath the mind. Beneath the thinking mind there is a depth that does not live by argument. It does not analyze as the conscious mind analyzes. It does not debate every seed placed inside it. It receives impressions, repeats patterns, protects what it has learned, and grows what has been planted with emotion. This depth is the subconscious, the inner soil of the life. A garden does not ask whether a seed is good for the gardener. It obeys the law of growth. If a seed of fear is planted and watered, fear grows. If a seed of trust is planted and watered, trust grows. The soil is faithful. The problem is not that the soil hates you. The problem is that many seeds entered before you knew you were the gardener. A child hears words before the child has discernment. Money is hard. Love is dangerous. People leave. The body weakens. God is far. Rich people are corrupt. Good things do not last. Life is a struggle. These statements may have come from parents, culture, religion, disappointment, illness, or fear. At first they were sentences. Later they became atmosphere. Once a belief becomes atmosphere, the person no longer says, "I carry a belief." They say, "This is reality." This is why the subconscious is powerful. It hides its instructions inside what feels normal. A person may spend decades obeying an old seed while believing they are simply being realistic. The conscious mind may declare a new life, but if the soil is still full of old roots, the harvest will follow the deeper planting. This is why resolutions often fail. A person says, "I will be abundant," while the soil still believes receiving is unsafe. They say, "I will be healthy," while the soil still identifies with illness. They say, "I will be loved," while the soil expects abandonment. Willpower pushes from above. The roots pull from below. Do not hate the roots. Some grew as protection. The subconscious may have learned caution after betrayal, silence after humiliation, self-denial after conflict, or poverty as a form of moral safety. The root may be limiting now, but it may have begun as a guardian. Healing begins when you thank the old protection without letting it govern the future. The soil changes through repeated impressions delivered in a receptive state. The moments before sleep and after waking are especially fertile. The conscious guard is softer. The mind is less defended. Most people use these hours carelessly. They enter the night carrying tomorrow's fear, yesterday's argument, unpaid bills, family concerns, or dread of the body. Then they wonder why the morning feels heavy. Use the gates differently. Before sleep, give the subconscious one clear seed. Not 10 desires, not a desperate list. One seed. If restoration is desired, enter the feeling of relief. If provision is desired, enter the feeling of sufficiency. If peace is desired, enter the sensation of being held. Let the body taste the fulfilled state before the outer evidence arrives. The subconscious learns through feeling more deeply than through dry language. A sentence spoken with panic carries panic. A sentence spoken with quiet relief carries command. This is why emotional climate matters. You are not trying to shout at the soil. You are trying to plant with warmth, steadiness, and faith. During the day, guard the seed. Do not plant trust at night and then spend the morning watering fear. Do not plant abundance and then curse every bill. Do not plant healing and then speak to the body as a broken enemy. The garden listens all day. Every word, image, complaint, gratitude, assumption, and emotional rehearsal becomes weather. Writing can reveal hidden planting. Put an old belief on paper. I am too old to change. Money leaves me. My body cannot improve. Love is not safe. Then look at the sentence as an object rather than an atmosphere. Where did it come from? Who first spoke it? What evidence has the mind collected to defend it? What evidence has it ignored? Is this a divine law or only an old seed? The new seed must be strong enough to transform and close enough to enter. If the mind rejects a phrase completely, build a bridge. Instead of forcing a sentence the whole body denies, choose a truthful direction. I am becoming more receptive to provision. My body is learning restoration. I am safer in love than I once believed. My life can answer me differently. A bridge can cross where a command cannot enter. The gardener must also protect the gate. Not every voice deserves access to the soil. Repeated fear, gossip, hopeless conversation, and spiritual cynicism become seeds. Compassion does not require you to leave your inner garden open to every passerby. Protect the atmosphere in which the new life is growing. If an old fear rises after new planting, do not call it failure. Sometimes the soil releases what was buried. Sometimes a root becomes visible because it is ready to be removed. A memory may appear. A dream may disturb you. A bodily sensation may reveal an old association. Meet it gently. The garden is speaking. The subconscious is not your enemy. It has been faithful to what it received. Now give it better instruction. Plant at night. Guard speech by day. Water with gratitude. Withdraw attention from weeds. Repeat until the new pattern has roots deep enough to survive weather. The soil beneath the mind also stores emotional conclusions made in moments of shock. A single experience can plant a seed if it arrives with enough feeling. A child rejected in public may plant invisibility. A family frightened by money may plant scarcity. A betrayal may plant the belief that closeness is danger. A season of illness may plant the expectation that the body cannot be trusted. The adult may forget the planting, but the soil remembers. The subconscious protects continuity. It tries to keep tomorrow consistent with yesterday because familiarity feels safe. This is why a new blessing can feel uncomfortable. Peace may feel suspicious to a nervous system trained by chaos. More money may produce guilt in a mind trained to equate lack with goodness. Love may feel intrusive to a heart that learned distance as safety. The garden must be taught that good can stay. One of the finest ways to teach the garden is through repeated inner scenes. Not frantic fantasies, but short, living impressions. See yourself breathing with relief. See a bill handled with calm. See the body moving with more ease. See yourself speaking with dignity. See the home filled with peace. The scene should be simple enough to carry feeling. The soil does not need a complicated movie. It needs a clear seed. The old seed does not always disappear instantly. Sometimes both crops grow for a while. You may feel trust in the morning and fear in the afternoon. You may bless money and later feel contraction. You may speak healing and later scan the body anxiously. Do not call this hypocrisy. It is transition. Continue watering the crop you have chosen. The garden also responds to the company you keep inwardly. The voices you replay become gardeners. A critical parent, a fearful culture, a disappointed former self, or an old religious image of punishment may still be planting. Bring these voices into awareness. Then place a new voice at the gate, firm, kind, deliberate, and aligned with God. The garden changes faster when the conscious mind stops feeding contradiction. One cannot plant peace and then entertain inner arguments all afternoon as if they were harmless. One cannot plant trust and then spend hours rehearsing betrayal. The soil is not confused by your public intention. It is shaped by your repeated private practice. This is why spiritual work must become honest in hidden places. The soil also accepts images from memory. If you continually revisit the worst scenes of your life, not to heal them but to suffer them again, you are placing old pictures back into the garden. Healing may require remembering, but remembering must have purpose. Bring the memory into the light, gather its lesson, release its charge, and refuse to use it as daily nourishment for the old identity. Before sleep, the simplest ritual may be enough. Place one hand on the chest, breathe slowly. Review one mercy from the day, then enter one fulfilled state. Not with force, but with quiet dignity. Let the body feel what it would feel if the answer were already being prepared. Carry that feeling into sleep as a seed wrapped in peace. Upon waking, do not immediately let the world trample the garden. Before messages, before news, before the old list of burdens, speak one clean sentence inwardly. Today I am guided. Today I receive help. Today my body is treated as a friend. Today provision knows my name. These first impressions matter because they tell the soil what kind of day is being planted. Chapter 3. The word that shapes the field. A word is never only a sound. It carries memory, intention, emotion, identity, and direction. The ancient world treated speech with reverence because it understood that language does not merely describe life. Language participates in forming the atmosphere through which life is met. You live inside the climate of your own words. The body hears them. The subconscious hears them. The nervous system hears them. Relationships hear them. Money, health, time, and possibility are approached through the words you repeat until they become law. Many people believe they are being honest when they speak defeat over themselves. I am broke, I am old, I am always tired. My body is failing. Nothing works for me. People always disappoint me. The problem is not honesty. The problem is identity. A condition observed with wisdom is one thing. A condition married to I am is another. I am is a doorway. What follows it is treated by the inner world as a name. To say I feel tired today leaves room for change. To say I am tired all the time begins to build identity. To say I am facing a financial challenge leaves the soul upright. To say I am poor places lack near the center of the self. Clean speech is not denial. It is disciplined naming. It refuses to crown a temporary condition as ultimate truth. If the body is in pain, speak to it with care. If money is uncertain, speak of order and opening. If the heart is grieving, speak of healing and companionship. The visible fact can be acknowledged without being enthroned. Careless words are expensive because they turn passing states into repeated instructions. A joke about decline may seem harmless. A complaint about the body may feel ordinary. A bitter sentence about money may feel justified. But the subconscious does not always know when you are joking. It receives emotional speech as instruction. The first discipline is to stop cursing the temple. Do not speak to the body as if it were a traitor. Do not speak to the mind as if it were stupid. Do not speak to the heart as if it were foolish for wanting love. Do not speak to your future as if it were already dead. If blessing feels difficult at first, begin with restraint. Silence is better than self-curse. Then begin to bless deliberately. Bless the body for what still works. Bless the money that leaves your hand, thanking it for serving life. Bless the home, even if it is imperfect. Bless the food. Bless the day before it proves itself. Bless the road. Bless the phone. Bless the unknown hour. Blessing trains the inner field to meet life through cooperation, rather than suspicion. Words also direct attention. When you say life is against me, the mind searches for evidence. When you say guidance is appearing, the mind searches differently. Speech tells perception what matters. A person who speaks constantly of danger becomes a collector of danger. A person who speaks of grace begins to notice small doors that fear would have ignored. There is also social creation through speech. The way you speak about yourself trains others how to meet you. If you constantly announce decline, people begin relating to your decline. If you speak with dignity, vitality, and expectation, the field around you receives a different instruction. Your words do not control others, but they influence the atmosphere in which others respond. Before we continue, if this teaching is resonating with you and you want the complete written experience, the premium edition is available through the link in the description. Return to it slowly, not as information to collect, but as a frequency to practice. The word can revise memory. The same past can be narrated from injury or from initiation. You do not need to lie about what happened. You can tell the truth from a higher altitude. Instead of saying that destroyed me, say that season wounded me, taught me, stripped illusions away, and returned me to a deeper strength. The event remains, but its authority changes. There is a holy power in Namunu. No to gossip. No to rehearsing disaster. No to inherited decline. No to the old family sentence that tries to use your mouth. No to speaking from a wound that wants to remain in charge. A clean no clears the space where a truer yes can grow. If you catch yourself speaking the old way, correct it aloud. Do not collapse into shame, simply revise. That is the old word. The new word is this. The correction tells the inner world that new authority is present. Mastery is not never falling into old language. Mastery is catching it sooner and replacing it with a cleaner command. Let speech become an altar. Let the mouth become a place where the future is blessed before it is visible. Speak slowly when the word matters. Sacred language has weight. The tongue can either scatter the field or tune it. From this point forward, speak as one who understands that life is listening. There are words that weaken the room the moment they enter it. They carry accusation, complaint, finality, and collapse. There are also words that strengthen the room. They do not deny difficulty, but they bring order, dignity, and possibility. A house where people bless one another feels different from a house where every sentence rehearses fear. Speech leaves residue. The practice of clean speech begins privately. It begins with the silent sentences that move beneath the day. No one hears them, yet the body does. I cannot. It is too late. They will reject me. This always happens. I am alone. These inner words are prayers in reverse when repeated with belief. Interrupt them gently but firmly. The new law must be spoken inwardly before it can be carried outwardly. Blessing does not have to be dramatic. A quiet, may this be guided, can change how you enter a task. A sincere, thank you for serving me, can change how money leaves your hand. A soft, body, I am listening, can change the atmosphere around pain. A whispered, God is nearer than this fear, can return the mind to scale when anxiety enlarges itself. When speaking to others, let the word be both true and clean. Clean speech does not flatter dishonestly. It does not avoid needed confrontation. It refuses unnecessary poison. It refuses the pleasure of humiliation. It refuses to make a wound more important than healing. Even a boundary can be spoken from a high frequency. No can be firm without becoming cruel. The word is most powerful when speech, feeling, and identity agree. A sentence of abundance spoken by one who secretly worships lack is weak. A sentence of peace spoken while the body is trained by panic must be repeated until the body learns. Be patient. You are retraining the instrument. The first clean words may feel unfamiliar. Continue until they become your native language. Every family has phrases that travel like inherited spells. We are not lucky. Our family always struggles. Men cannot be trusted. Women suffer. Money ruins people. The body fails after a certain age. These phrases may sound ordinary because they were heard often, but frequency does not become harmless through repetition. A sentence repeated through generations can become a house where many live without realizing the door is open. A clean word may feel lonely at first because it interrupts the tribe. When others repeat the old sentence, you may feel the pull to agree. Agreement creates belonging, but sometimes belonging costs the soul too much. You can remain kind while refusing to lend your mouth to inherited defeat. A lineage changes when one person stops repeating what everyone assumed was law. The word must also be clean when spoken over others. Do not continually name loved ones by their weakness. He is impossible. She never changes. They are hopeless. Such speech may feel justified, but it hardens the image through which you meet them. Speak truth, set boundaries, but do not turn another soul into a permanent accusation. Even when distance is needed, the word can remain free of poison. There are moments when silence is the highest speech. Silence before reacting. Silence instead of gossip. Silence instead of self-insult. Silence while the heart returns to God. Such silence is not emptiness, it is the womb of a better word. From it, speech can return cleaner, slower, and more aligned. Chapter 4. The mercy of hidden growth. The modern mind has almost forgotten how to wait. It wants immediate proof, instant answers, visible results, fast delivery, and constant confirmation. But the deeper laws of life move through gestation. Roots form underground. Children grow in the womb. Seeds split in darkness. The invisible prepares before the visible appears. Many abandon a miracle at the stage of hidden growth. They change their speech for a few days, begin gratitude for a week, pray with greater attention, and then inspect the surface. The account looks the same. The body still speaks. The relationship remains tense. The visible field appears unchanged. The old mind declares failure because it cannot see roots. A farmer does not judge the seed by the first morning of soil. He plants, waters, protects, and waits. He understands that invisible process is not emptiness. He does not dig up the seed every hour to prove that life is working. He knows that panic can damage what patience would have allowed to grow. Transformation also has roots. When you begin tuning differently, the first changes may happen where no one can applaud. You pause before an old reaction. You complain less quickly. You bless one bill instead of cursing it. You feel one moment of relief before sleep. You notice beauty in a day that once would have been named only by pain. These are roots. Do not underestimate roots. The visible harvest may seem sudden when it arrives, but sudden fruit is usually prepared by hidden faithfulness. Certain bamboo forms deep foundations for a long time before rising quickly. To the impatient eye, nothing is happening. To the wise eye, structure is being prepared. Your delays may have contained mercy. A blessing without roots can become a burden. Money without stewardship can scatter. Love without self-respect can enslave. Visibility without identity can collapse. Health without gratitude can be neglected. Sometimes life delays the outer gift, while forming the inner vessel capable of holding it. Time also protects you from your own passing storms. Imagine if every fear became reality instantly. Every angry thought took form. Every jealous image became circumstance. Every anxious sentence appeared. The delay between inner state and outer form is mercy. It gives you space to revise, repent, bless, and choose again. Faith is respect for invisible process. It is not passivity. It does not sit in a corner and call laziness surrender. Faith prepares. If you expect rain, prepare the vessel. If you expect healing, honor the body. If you expect provision, organize what you already have. If you expect love, become a house where love can breathe. The waiting season reveals what the desire is made of. Some desires begin mixed with fear, pride, revenge, or the need to prove something. During gestation, desire can become clean. You may discover that what you truly wanted was peace, dignity, expression, safety, or union with God. The form may shift because the soul becomes more honest. Do not compare your seed with another person's harvest. You do not know their soil. You do not know their preparation, hidden obedience, previous losses, or divine timing. Comparison is one way people stop watering their own field. Bless another person's harvest and return to your soil. There will be cracking stages. The shell must open before the sprout rises. To the seed, if it had fear, the cracking might feel like death. To wisdom, it is birth. Human beings often experience this as discomfort. Old patterns resist. Old identities tremble. Former supports loosen. Do not run backward at the cracking stage. A new challenge after beginning spiritual work is not proof that the work failed. It may be an old echo. It may be the shell breaking. It may be a lesson in holding the new state when appearances still speak the old language. Meet what must be met, but do not surrender your frequency to the first test. Active waiting is one of the highest forms of maturity. It means acting from trust rather than panic. It means doing the next clean thing without trying to control the whole field. It means preparing as if growth is moving beneath the soil. It means refusing to poison the seed with daily doubt. The mercy of hidden growth is that God often works beneath the level of your evidence. The field is arranging while you are sleeping. The body repairs while you are not watching. A conversation is being prepared in someone else's mind. A door is moving before you see the hinge. The unseen is not empty. It is where harvest begins. Gestation is difficult because it takes place in darkness. The mind prefers evidence it can touch, but the first work of a seed is not upward, it is downward. It roots before it rises. Many spiritual changes feel this way. The first movement may be deeper honesty, clearer discomfort with old habits, less tolerance for self-betrayal, or a sudden awareness of thoughts you once obeyed unconsciously. These are not failures. They are roots finding direction. Do not make waiting passive. Waiting can be one of the most active forms of faith. It asks you to prepare without proof, speak cleanly without applause, care for the body before the report changes, organize money before abundance expands, and practice the new identity before anyone recognizes it. Such waiting is not empty. It is construction in the unseen. There is a danger in demanding visible signs too early. The mind may turn every day into a courtroom where God is put on trial. Did it happen yet? Did the money come? Did the pain disappear? Did the person change? This form of checking is not faith. It is fear dressed as measurement. Handle facts responsibly, but do not make every hour a verdict. Sometimes the harvest arrives as capacity before circumstance. You may not immediately receive the outer change, but you receive steadiness. You receive a better response. You receive the ability to sleep. You receive the courage to make one call. You receive the clarity to stop repeating one pattern. These are not lesser miracles. They are the inner architecture that makes the outer blessing sustainable. The hidden season purifies motives. It teaches the soul whether it wants God or only a result. It teaches whether gratitude depends on proof. It teaches whether peace can be practiced before the field is fully visible. Do not despise this training. A blessing held by an untrained soul can become a new anxiety. A blessing held by a seasoned soul becomes stewardship. Waiting reveals whether the desire is rooted in trust or in panic. Panic cannot wait because it believes absence is abandonment. Trust can wait because it senses activity beyond appearance. This does not make trust passive. Trust waters, prepares, listens, and acts when guided. But it does not claw at the soil demanding that the seed perform for the ego. The hidden season also teaches endurance without bitterness. Some people endure outwardly while becoming inwardly sour. This is not faith. It is delayed resentment. True waiting keeps the heart from hardening. It says, "I do not see the full harvest yet, but I will not poison the field through cynicism. I will remain available to beauty, instruction, and small mercies while the larger answer forms." If an answer takes another shape, do not dismiss it too quickly. The soul may ask for money and receive an idea, a relationship, a new discipline, or a restored sense of worth that later opens money. It may ask for healing and first receive the courage to rest, forgive, or seek help. It may ask for love and first receive the cleansing of desperation. Sometimes the first fruit is not the final fruit. It is the fruit that makes the final fruit possible. In divine timing, nothing truly aligned is wasted. The prayer, the practice, the tears, the corrected word, the quiet mourning, the refusal to return to the old state, all enter the field. The surface may not keep immediate records, but the unseen does. A faithful seed is never meaningless simply because the eye has not yet seen green. If this teaching has begun to shift something inside you, do not let it pass through your life as only another voice in the background. Return to it when the mind becomes noisy, when the heart feels tired, or when the outer world tries to pull you back into fear. Subscribe to this channel and continue walking with these teachings, because the soul is strengthened by repetition, and the right words heard at the right hour can become a doorway. Chapter 5. The Heart That Receives. The mind can understand a spiritual law while the heart remains tuned to fear. This is why knowledge alone does not transform. A person may know the language of manifestation, prayer, faith, and inner authority, yet continue broadcasting panic beneath every sentence. The field receives the whole person, not merely the vocabulary of belief. The heart is a receiver and a transmitter. It carries feeling into the body, into speech, into perception, into the nervous system, and into the atmosphere around a person. Thought gives direction, but feeling gives power. A weak thought spoken over a strong emotional expectation rarely governs the life. The deeper feeling usually wins. This is why forced affirmation disappoints many seekers. The mouth says, "I am safe," while the chest is full of danger. The mouth says, "I am supplied," while the heart is clenched around lack. The mouth says, "I am loved," while the body expects abandonment. The sentence is not wrong, but the instrument is not yet tuned to it. To tune the heart is not to fake emotion. It is to enter the fulfilled state slowly enough that the body can believe it. If you desire healing, feel the relief of being cared for by life. If you desire provision, feel the calm of enough. If you desire companionship, feel the warmth of being held by God before a person appears. Feeling is the bridge between idea and embodiment. Neville Goddard's famous teaching that feeling is the secret remains powerful because it points to embodiment. The secret is not wild excitement. It is not emotional noise. It is the capacity to wear inwardly the state that belongs to the fulfilled desire. For many mature souls, the highest feeling is not euphoria, it is peace. It is the long breath after struggle, it is relief. Relief is sacred because it tells the nervous system that the war is ending. Practice relief before the outer world has fully changed. Let the shoulders fall. Let the jaw soften. Let the breath lengthen. Whisper inwardly, I am held. I am guided. The answer is moving. I do not need to fight the whole universe alone. Gratitude is the heart's master key. Hope looks toward what may come. Gratitude stands as if something has already entered. When you give thanks before the evidence, you are not deceiving yourself. You are training the heart to live in contact with the answer rather than exiled from it. Gratitude turns the inner instrument toward reception. The practice can be simple. Bring attention to the center of the chest. Breathe slowly as if breath were moving through the heart. Remember one genuine mercy. It may be small, light through a window, water, a child's voice, a loyal animal, one working part of the body, one meal, one quiet hour. Let the feeling warm. From that warmth speak your prayer. Prayer from panic and prayer from coherence are not the same vibration. Panic says God is absent and I must beg loudly enough to be noticed. Coherence says the source is near and I am aligning myself to receive. The words may be similar, but the current beneath them is different. Many people wake and immediately tune the heart to yesterday's fear. They scan the body, check the world, remember problems, rehearse family concerns, and give the first hour to disturbance. By breakfast, the dial is set. Do not let the world tune you before the soul has spoken. Begin the day with one chosen frequency. Gratitude, safety, guidance, strength, provision, peace. Do not wait until the day proves itself. Bless the day first. The heart that waits for evidence before it can soften remains a servant of circumstance. The heart that chooses coherence begins to influence circumstance. Beauty strengthens the heart. A candle, a flower, a clean table, music, silence, a window open to morning, a sentence read slowly, all can become tuning instruments. Beauty is not frivolous. It reminds the heart that life is more than problem-solving. When the heart is wounded, be patient. Do not command it harshly. A heart that has known betrayal may not trust instantly. Sit with it. Breathe with it. Tell it, we are learning safety again. We are learning to receive again. We are learning that not every opening leads to pain. The heart heals through companionship, not force. The heart tuned to God is not weak. It can set boundaries without hatred, forgive without self-erasure, hope without denial, and love without desperation. Coherence is not sentimentality. It is power organized by peace. Let the heart become the instrument through which the teaching enters the body. The mind may understand quickly, but the heart must be trained faithfully. When the heart changes station, the world you hear begins to change. The heart also decides how the body interprets time. A fearful heart turns waiting into abandonment. A coherent heart turns waiting into preparation. A resentful heart turns relationship into battlefield. A grateful heart finds one clean path through the same conversation. The outer facts may be similar, but the heart gives them meaning, and meaning changes the chemistry of experience. Many people try to raise frequency by thinking harder. They collect ideas, repeat statements, study principles, and still feel inwardly unchanged. The missing bridge is often felt safety. Until the heart feels safe enough to open, teachings remain in the head. This is why tenderness matters. The heart is not conquered by argument. It is persuaded by repeated experiences of peace. Let the heart learn through small fulfilled states. Do not always reach for the largest desire. Practice gratitude for one cup of water, one breath, one message, one answered need, one moment of stillness. The heart that can receive small good without suspicion is being prepared to receive larger good without sabotage. If grief rises while practicing gratitude, let it rise. Sometimes gratitude opens the door to tears because the heart has been defended for so long. Tears do not mean the frequency is low. They may mean the armor is melting. Let the body release what it had to hold when it did not yet know how to trust. The heart's radio becomes clearer when resentment is reduced, beauty is allowed, silence is protected, and prayer is spoken from contact rather than exile. In time, the person no longer seeks a spiritual feeling as a rare event. Coherence becomes a home frequency, something returned to again and again until it becomes familiar. The heart must be protected from emotional imitation. It is easy to absorb the frequency of a room, a family, a crowd, or a screen. If everyone around you is anxious, anxiety may begin to feel responsible. If everyone complains, gratitude may feel naive. If everyone expects decline, vitality may feel like rebellion. The heart must learn to remain loyal to God, even when the atmosphere around it is lower. This loyalty is not isolation, it is inner steadiness. You can sit with people in pain without becoming pain. You can hear difficult news without surrendering your whole nervous system to fear. You can love someone who is struggling without lowering your heart into despair. The heart tuned to God becomes a place of refuge, not only for you but for others who enter your presence. Practice entering fulfilled feeling through the body. A peaceful heart is not only an idea, it has breath, temperature, posture, and rhythm. Notice what your shoulders do when you imagine being supported. Notice how the breath changes when you feel forgiven. Notice the warmth that arrives when gratitude becomes real. These bodily signs tell you the heart has moved from concept into state. Eventually, the heart learns to recognize false urgency. Not everything that feels urgent is important. Sometimes urgency is an old wound demanding control. A coherent heart can pause long enough to ask, is this guidance or panic? The answer often appears in the quality of the feeling. Guidance may be strong, but beneath it there is steadiness. Panic is noisy and consuming. Chapter 6. The Body as Sacred Instrument. No signal can remain clear through an instrument that is constantly neglected, drained, or cursed. The body is not an obstacle to spiritual life. It is the earthly instrument through which the soul expresses, receives, works, loves, speaks, prays, heals, and serves. Treating the body as an enemy lowers the frequency of the whole life. Many seekers try to rise spiritually, while leaking life force through resentment, worry, guilt, exhaustion, poor rest, overstimulation, and self-criticism. The words may be holy, but the battery is low. The intention may be strong, but the instrument is tired. Sacred vitality is not vanity. It is stewardship. Ancient traditions gave many names to life force: breath, spirit, prana, chi, ruach, vital current. The names differ, but the recognition is the same. Something subtle animates the body. That current can be strengthened or wasted. It can be guarded or scattered. Resentment is one of the largest leaks. A person may be physically far from the one who wounded them, yet still give that person daily access to the nervous system. The memory tightens the stomach. The argument repeats. The body pays tribute to a past event that is not happening now. Forgiveness, rightly understood, is the withdrawal of energy from the wound. Forgiveness does not say the harm was acceptable. It says the past will no longer live rent-free inside the temple. It says, I take my life force back. I release the argument from my blood. I do not continue poisoning myself in the name of justice. True justice may require action, distance, truth, or boundary. But resentment as a daily atmosphere drains the one who carries it. Guilt drains differently. It turns the heart against itself. Responsibility repairs what can be repaired and chooses differently. Guilt insists on continued suffering as proof that a lesson was learned. But suffering is not the proof of transformation. A changed life is. Put down the stones. You need your energy for the remaining road. Worry is imagination turned against the body. It creates inner films of feared outcomes and asks the body to react as though they are present. The chemistry of emergency enters the blood for events that may never come. Ask a clean question when worry rises. Is there one wise action to take now? If yes, take it. If not, return the energy to trust. The physical temple matters. Drink water with gratitude. Eat more life-giving food. Move gently and consistently. Stretch, walk, breathe, rest. Seek appropriate care when needed. Bless medicine if medicine is part of the path. Bless doctors, therapists, herbs, sunlight, sleep, and every true channel of healing. Do not divide God from practical wisdom. Speak to the body as a faithful companion. Thank the feet, the hands, the heart, the lungs, the eyes, the cells. Even parts that suffer deserve kindness. A body criticized constantly does not become more peaceful. It becomes guarded. Healing needs an atmosphere of friendship. Sleep is a sacred surrender. Each night gives the ego a chance to stop pretending it controls everything. Before sleep, hand the unfinished work to God. Say inwardly, I have carried what I can carry today. The rest belongs to higher wisdom. Enter the night with blessing rather than fear, because the subconscious and the body continue working while the conscious mind rests. Guard your social energy. Some conversations leave the field heavy. Some people feed on crisis. Some environments teach the nervous system to expect danger. Compassion does not require constant exposure to what destroys vitality. A holy no can protect the signal better than a resentful yes. Your environment also speaks to the body. Light, order, scent, sound, air, color, and cleanliness shape the nervous system. A single cleared table can return energy. A window opened can change breath. A candle can remind the body that it is in a sacred space. Small physical acts teach the soul that life is still worth tending. Joy is nourishment. Laughter changes chemistry. Beauty relaxes defense. Purpose calls energy forward. If vitality is low, do not demand a mountain from a tired body. Begin with one breath, one glass of water, one kind sentence, one walk to the door, one released resentment. The current often returns through small faithful acts. The body is not merely carrying your life, it is part of the way life speaks. Listen without fear, care without obsession, rest without guilt, move without punishment, bless without waiting for perfection. A sacred instrument responds to reverent handling. The body remembers the way you have lived. It remembers hurry, grief, overwork, suppressed anger, fear before sleep, and years of being spoken to harshly. Do not expect the body to trust you instantly if you have treated it like a machine or enemy. Build trust through consistency. Feed it, water it, move it, rest it, and speak to it with loyalty. Vitality is also protected by completion. Unfinished tasks occupy subtle energy. An unsent message, an unpaid small debt, a room full of old objects, a delayed appointment, an apology withheld, a decision postponed, all may remain open in the background of the mind. Close what can be closed. Simplify what can be simplified. Energy returns when loops are completed. Purpose calls life force forward. A body often grows heavier when the soul believes there is no reason to rise. Give the day a sacred reason, even if small. Someone to bless. One page to read, one drawer to clear, one prayer to offer, one walk to take, one meal to prepare with dignity. Purpose does not need to be grand to be real. Do not confuse spiritual trust with neglect. If the body needs help, seek help. If the mind needs support, seek support. If the nervous system needs rest, rest. God is not offended by practical care. The divine can move through hands, medicine, food, sleep, sunlight, therapy, and the wisdom of the body itself. As vitality returns, the signal strengthens. Your prayers may feel less desperate. Your speech may become steadier. Your attention may be easier to guide. Your relationships may feel less consuming. The instrument, once cared for, begins to carry the music with greater clarity. There are forms of tiredness that are not solved by sleep alone, because they come from living against the soul. Saying yes when the soul says no. Remaining in old roles. Carrying burdens that belong to others. Performing strength while the heart is asking for truth. The body may become the messenger when the life has ignored quieter messages. Listen to fatigue with intelligence. Sometimes it asks for rest. Sometimes for better food, movement, medical care, silence or sunlight. Sometimes it asks for a boundary. Sometimes it asks for grief to be felt instead of stored. Sometimes it asks for purpose. Do not reduce every signal to one explanation. The body speaks a layered language. Reverence for the body also means refusing to use spirituality as a weapon against human need. You are allowed to need rest. You are allowed to need companionship. You are allowed to need help. You are allowed to need warmth, order, nourishment, and care. Need is not failure. It becomes distortion only when it is denied, shamed, or forced to become desperation. Ill-cared for body becomes more available to the subtle. When the nervous system is calmer, intuition is easier to hear. When breath is deeper, prayer feels less strained. When sleep improves, the mind is less likely to worship fear. Physical care is therefore not separate from the divine current. It is one of its channels. Chapter 7. The Compass of Attention. Attention is one of the most valuable currencies in the universe. What you illuminate grows in importance. What you revisit gains emotional weight. What you search for becomes easier to find. The world may contain countless possibilities, but attention determines which ones become your experienced reality. Two people can walk through the same day and live in different worlds. One sees danger, insult, scarcity, and decline. Another sees beauty, timing, assistance, and opportunity. The outer day may be similar. The inner assignment given to attention is different. The mind filters reality. It cannot process everything with equal force. It selects according to what has been marked as important. If fear has been repeatedly marked as important, the mind hunts for threat. If gratitude has been marked as important, the mind begins to notice blessing. If opportunity has been marked as important, doors become more visible. This is why intention must be placed before the day begins. Many wake and ask, "What will happen to me today?" That is a passive question. Ask instead, "What will I serve today? What will I notice? What will I feed? What will I refuse to enlarge?" A day without intention becomes available to every passing alarm. Attention is the lighthouse. Intention is the compass. The lighthouse illuminates, the compass directs. Without compass, the light swings wildly toward fear, news, memory, conflict, habit, and other people's urgency. With compass, the light becomes useful. Set the compass simply. Today I intend to notice support. Today I intend to speak with dignity. Today I intend to see evidence of grace. Today I intend to treat my body as a friend. Today I intend to bless money, coming and going. Such sentences are not magic tricks. They are assignments to perception. Do not make problems identities. A bill is a task. A symptom is a message. A disagreement is a conversation or a boundary. Handle what must be handled, then return attention to what strengthens life. If every problem becomes the center of consciousness, the whole inner world begins orbiting around difficulty. The world competes fiercely for your attention. Headlines, advertisements, arguments, platforms, gossip, fear industries, and unresolved memories all want the lighthouse. To reclaim attention is to reclaim sovereignty. You cannot build a tuned life while donating your inner screen to every alarm designed by others. Information is a diet. What enters the eyes and ears becomes part of the nervous system's weather. This does not mean ignorance is wisdom. It means saturation is dangerous. Know what must be known, then return to the soul. The news can tell you what is broken. It rarely teaches you how to become whole. Become a hunter of evidence, but choose the evidence you hunt. At night, gather 3 signs of support: a moment of ease, a kind message, a meal, a useful idea, a bird, a breath without pain, a solution you did not plan. The ego may mock small signs because it wants drama. Ignore the ego. Small signs train perception. Synchronicity increases when attention becomes disciplined. You think of someone and they appear. You need information and a phrase opens the way. You pray and a conversation answers. Do not become childish or superstitious, but do become attentive. A mature soul can recognize meaningful coincidence without worshipping every coincidence. There is also holy indifference. Not everything deserves your light. Not every insult deserves a response. Not every worry deserves rehearsal. Not every opinion deserves entrance. Attention is expensive. Spend it where life is being built. Ask throughout the day, what am I making larger right now? The question may humble you. You may find yourself enlarging fear, pain, offense, lack, or imagined disaster. Once seen, turn gently. Place the light where growth is desired. This turning is one of the quiet engines of destiny. As attention purifies, intuition becomes easier to hear. The soul often whispers beneath noise. When the lighthouse stops swinging toward every alarm, the compass needle steadies. Direction may appear not as thunder, but as a simple knowing. This is enough. Drain attention through return. You will forget. The world will pull, memory will interrupt, fear will call, return. Each return strengthens command. The mature soul is not the one whose attention never wanders. It is the one who knows how to bring the light home. The past is one of the most common thieves of attention. A memory can become a room you keep entering, not to learn, but to suffer again. The mind may say it is seeking understanding, but often it is rehearsing injury. Visit the past only to retrieve wisdom, release energy, or revise meaning. Do not live there as if loyalty to pain were proof that the pain mattered. The future can steal attention as well. Anxiety projects images and demands emotional payment in advance. It asks you to suffer now for possibilities that may never arrive. When the future becomes a theater of fear, bring the lighthouse back. What is mine to do today? What can be blessed now? What clean action belongs to this hour? Attention is also strengthened by ritual. A morning without the world's noise, a few breaths before opening messages, a line of gratitude before standing, a nightly review of grace. These are not small things. They are ways of telling the lighthouse where to shine before habit grabs the handle. Do not underestimate the training of environment. If every surface around you speaks chaos, attention will tire quickly. If there is one clean place for prayer, reading, or silence, the mind has somewhere to return. Sacred attention benefits from sacred places, even if the place is only one chair. Eventually, attention becomes less like a scattered light and more like a devoted flame. It no longer belongs to every fear that knocks. It no longer rushes toward every insult. It begins to serve the life you are building. This is one of the quiet signs that the current is changing. Attention also determines identity by repetition. What you notice about yourself becomes the self you believe in. If you notice only flaws, age, mistakes, and limitations, the inner image becomes small. If you notice courage, endurance, kindness, progress, and evidence of guidance, the inner image grows. This is not vanity. It is truthful selection. Train the mind to notice evidence of becoming. Where did you react less harshly than before? Where did you bless instead of curse? Where did you pause? Where did you care for the body? Where did you choose dignity? These small signs prove that a new current is already moving. The mind must be taught to record them. The compass of attention also protects desire. If a desire matters, give it clean attention rather than anxious attention. Visit it with gratitude, preparation, and trust. Do not visit it as a beggar visits a locked gate. Visit it as a gardener visits a field. The quality of attention becomes part of the growing condition. At night, reclaim the day from the one negative event that may try to name it. Review the whole day. Let the good testify. Let the neutral moments count as peace. Let the small mercies speak. This practice retrains the inner historian. Her life changes when the historian stops writing only from injury. Chapter 8. The Self That Can Receive. A new blessing cannot remain inside an old identity that rejects it. Many ask for abundance while still wearing the identity of lack. They ask for health while speaking as permanent patience. They ask for love while carrying the name of the abandoned one. They ask for peace while identifying as the person who must always struggle. Identity is a garment worn so long that it begins to feel like skin. But much of what people call personality is actually adaptation. It was shaped by family, culture, wounds, protection, repetition, and survival. The garment may have served a season. It may have kept you warm in a winter. But a garment that once protected can later confine. The words "I am open" identity doors. I am too old. I am unlucky. I am always tired. I am not good with money. I am the one people leave. These statements do not merely describe. They maintain. They instruct perception, posture, behavior, and expectation to keep building the same self. A new life requires a new inner name, not vanity, not pretense. A name large enough to receive the life now calling you. I am restored. I am guided. I am available to provision. I am learning vitality. I am loved by life. I am a faithful steward. I am not the wound. I am the one who rose through it, who's through. Acting as if is often misunderstood. It does not mean pretending foolishly. It means rehearsing the posture, speech, choices, and emotional climate of the self you are entering. An actor who plays royalty does not wait for the crown before standing with dignity. He enters the role until the body understands the role. Ask practical questions. How would the restored self begin this morning? How would the prosperous self handle this bill? How would the loved self speak to the mirror? How would the healthy self choose food and rest? How would the wise self respond to criticism? These questions translate identity into behavior. Posture matters. The body teaches the mind. A collapsed chest, lowered eyes, shallow breath, and dragging step repeat defeat to the subconscious. Stand gently upright. Let the breath deepen. Walk as one who is allowed to occupy space. This is not performance for others. It is instruction to the inner world. Environment also confirms identity. If your rooms vote for the old self, change one corner, clear a table, open a window, use the good cup. Remove an object that keeps you married to a dead chapter. Beauty tells the subconscious that life is still being received. Care is a language of worth. The old identity will accuse you. It may say, "Who do you think you are?" It may call hope foolish, dignity artificial, and new speech dishonest. Understand this protest. The old identity is protecting its position. It would rather be familiar than free. Let it speak, but do not let it rule. There may be grief in releasing a painful identity. Even suffering can become familiar companionship. The sick self may have received attention. The poor self may have felt morally safe. The abandoned self may have explained why love was not risked. Be compassionate, but honest. Do not keep pain simply because pain became known. The self that can receive must normalize good. If receiving feels dangerous, the nervous system may sabotage the blessing. This is why money can come and leave, love can appear and be pushed away, health can improve and be neglected. The outer gift arrived, but the inner container remained old. Identity is the container. Place the new identity into time. If vitality matters, schedule rest and movement. If prosperity matters, look clearly at money. If peace matters, protect silence. If love matters, stop speaking to yourself with contempt. A self-concept that never enters the calendar remains fantasy. Do not demand perfection from the new self. That only creates another prison. A renewed identity can learn, stumble, correct, and continue without collapsing into shame. The new garment becomes natural through repetition, not through one flawless performance. You are not dressing up to impress the world. You are becoming available to the divine life that wants to move through you. The self that can receive is humble and dignified. It does not dominate. It simply refuses to disappear. The self that can receive must also let go of secret contracts. A person may have made an old agreement to stay small so others would feel comfortable, to remain sick, so rest would be permitted, to stay poor so judgment would be avoided, or to expect abandonment, so love would never catch them unprepared. These contracts may never have been spoken aloud, but the body knows them. Bring the contract into light. I agreed to hide. I agreed to expect loss. I agreed to distrust receiving. I agreed to be the strong one who never needs. Once named, the agreement loses some of its sacred disguise. Then speak the cancellation inwardly. That agreement was made in fear. It no longer governs the life God is building through me. A new identity must be practiced when no one is watching. The mirror, the room, the meal, the bank account, the moment of fatigue, the private thought after a mistake. These are the training grounds. Public reinvention without private practice becomes performance. Private practice eventually becomes presence. Let the new self be honest about age without worshipping decline. Maturity can become radiance, discernment, authority, patience, and depth. The goal is not to pretend to be young. The goal is to become alive in the age you are actually living. A mature soul carries a kind of power that youth often cannot hold. The self that can receive does not beg life for permission. It cooperates with God, honors the body, guards the word, trains attention, and walks with quiet dignity. It is not loud, but it is no longer absent. It has come home to its own name. A new identity may require new boundaries with old environments. Not every place can immediately understand the self you are becoming. Some rooms expect your old sadness. Some conversations expect your old agreement. Some people unconsciously prefer the version of you that needed less, asked less, and stayed easier to define. Do not hate them. Simply remain faithful. The self that can receive also needs a new relationship with worth. Worth cannot remain dependent on productivity, youth, appearance, approval, or constant usefulness. If worth depends on usefulness alone, rest will feel like guilt. If worth depends on youth, every year will feel like theft. If worth depends on approval, every opinion will feel like a judge. True worth must be placed deeper. Begin treating yourself as one entrusted with a sacred life. Not superior to others, not exempt from humility, but entrusted. The way you speak, eat, spend, rest, choose, and forgive changes when the self is treated as entrusted rather than accidental. A sacred life does not have to be loud to be valuable. Identity is finally proven in ordinary repetition. Anyone can declare a new self in a moment of inspiration. The question is who you become when the old trigger appears. The new identity is strengthened each time it is chosen under pressure. This is how the garment becomes natural. Chapter 9. The Echo Between Souls. Relationships reveal the truth of a frequency more quickly than solitude. Alone, a person may believe they are peaceful. Then another human being contradicts, delays, criticizes, ignores, disappoints, or needs them, and the hidden state appears. Relationship is not a distraction from spiritual work. It is one of the places where spiritual work becomes real. Other people are not puppets of your mind. They carry their own histories, wounds, choices, and responsibilities. Yet your experience of them is shaped by expectation, self-worth, fear, projection, and emotional memory. You do not meet people only as they are. You meet them through the field you carry. If you expect abandonment, silence may feel like rejection. If you expect disrespect, a neutral word may become insult. If you feel unworthy, you may accept treatment that confirms the wound. If you expect conflict, you may enter the room already armed. The other person still has responsibility, but your frequency shapes the dance. Long relationships gather scripts. He always does this. She never listens. They never change. These sentences may contain history, but if repeated as final law, they become cages. The person in front of you may make a small movement toward change, and your expectation may drag them back into the old role before they can breathe. To heal a relationship, begin by loosening the inner file. This does not mean denying patterns. It means allowing the possibility that a new response can appear. Speak differently about the person when they are absent. Bless one good quality. Expect one clean moment. The field of relationship often changes when expectation stops demanding the old evidence. Worry about loved ones is often fear disguised as love. Parents worry about adult children and call it devotion. But worry broadcasts weakness over the one worried about. Love can help, guide, pray, set boundaries, and provide support when appropriate. Worry imagines disaster and asks the body to call it care. See loved ones in strength. See them guided. See them learning. See them capable of meeting their path. This does not mean you never assist. It means assistance comes from trust rather than panic. Panic entangles. Trust strengthens. Difficult people teach boundaries. Some reveal where approval is still needed. Some reveal anger still stored. Some test whether peace depends on being treated perfectly. Some must be loved from a distance. Spiritual maturity does not require constant exposure to harm. It requires refusing hatred as the final bond. Release is not weakness. If someone occupies your mind all day through resentment, they still hold energy inside you. You may need truth, distance, legal action, conversation, or silence, but do not let the past continue living as ruler of your nervous system. Forgiveness is not permission for harm, it is eviction from the temple. Loneliness also changes by frequency. There is loneliness that feels like abandonment and solitude that feels like sanctuary. The difference is the relationship you have with your own presence. If you treat yourself as unwanted company, silence becomes punishment. If you treat yourself as sacred company, an empty room can become a chapel. Make the room alive, speak to God, read aloud, play music, cook with dignity, bless the chair. Let the home know someone beloved is present and that someone is you. Completeness attracts healthier companionship than desperation. In conversation, slow the first response. The first response often belongs to old programming. One breath can allow the higher self to arrive. Many relationships are transformed not by a grand speech, but by one repeated pause where the ancient reaction is no longer obeyed. Love from a higher frequency is not self-erasure. You can be kind and still have boundaries. You can forgive and still remain distant. You can understand someone's wound and still refuse mistreatment. Love is not the collapse of discernment. It is the purification of motive. The echo between souls changes when your tone changes. Some people will soften, some will resist, some will leave, some will finally find you because the old signal no longer blocks them. The goal is not to manipulate everyone into pleasing you. The goal is to become clear enough that love can meet you honestly, and what cannot meet you honestly no longer owns your peace. Some relationships will resist your new frequency because they were built around your old availability. If you no longer complain in the same way, rescue in the same way, collapse in the same way, or accept disrespect in the same way, the old pattern may protest through other people. Do not make their discomfort your command. A higher frequency does not mean becoming unreachable. It means becoming less easily owned by emotional weather. You can be present without absorbing. You can listen without becoming responsible for everything. You can love without abandoning yourself. This changes the echo between souls because your field is no longer offering the same old agreement. If a relationship cannot continue in the same form, bless what was real and release what was binding. Some connections complete their work and dissolve, others deepen after truth enters, others remain at a distance with peace. Do not measure love only by closeness. Sometimes love becomes cleaner when distance protects dignity. Practice silent blessing before difficult conversations. May truth be spoken. May the good in us rise. May fear not govern this room. May I listen without disappearing and speak without cruelty. Such blessing does not control another person, but it changes the state from which you enter. That state matters. The echo between souls becomes holy when you stop using people as proof of worth. Then love can become exchange rather than demand. You can receive without suspicion, give without hidden bargaining, and leave without hatred when leaving is necessary. Relationship becomes a school of truth rather than a prison of need. Many relationships are transformed when one person stops demanding that the other person become the source. No human being can carry the full weight of your salvation, worth, safety, and meaning. When that weight is placed upon another, love becomes pressure. The person may love you and still fail under the burden of being your God. Return ultimate source to God. Then relationships become cleaner. You can appreciate without clinging, speak truth without terror, receive love without making it your only oxygen, and let others be human without turning every imperfection into abandonment. This is freedom inside love. The echo between souls also teaches receiving. Some people can give endlessly but cannot receive without suspicion. A compliment feels unsafe. Help feels like debt. Tenderness feels like a trap. If this is present, let the heart learn that receiving can be clean. Let support arrive through people without worshipping the people as the source. When grief belongs to a relationship, honor it. Loss changes the form of love, not necessarily its presence. Speak blessings over those who are gone. Release what cannot be repaired physically. Let memory become a lamp rather than a chain. The frequency of love can continue in a higher form when possession is released. Chapter 10. The river beneath effort. After the mind has been trained, the word purified, the heart tuned, vitality protected, attention directed, identity renewed, and relationships listened to, one final art remains. It is the art the ego fears most. Surrender, not defeat, not passivity, not abandonment of desire. Surrender is releasing the desperate grip that blocks the current you have been asking to enter. Imagine a river. One swimmer fights every movement of the water, exhausted by the belief that survival depends on force. Another learns the current, relaxes enough to float, and makes small, intelligent movements. The second may travel farther with less strain, because he has stopped treating the river as an enemy. Grace is the river. Effort has its place. You must act, speak, choose, organize, care for the body, handle money, make calls, repair what can be repaired, and take the next clean step. But effort without surrender becomes suffering. It turns life into a battlefield where even blessing feels like a burden. Control is often fear wearing formal clothing. It says, if I do not manage every detail, everything will collapse. But worry has not kept the sun rising. Tension has not improved digestion. Panic has not made provision arrive more gracefully. Control promises safety, while consuming the energy needed for wisdom. Grace begins when you resign as manager of the universe. You still do your part. But you stop believing that the whole cosmos depends on the tightness of your jaw. You allow a larger intelligence to participate. You say, I will do what is mine to do, and I release the how to God. Desire and desperation are not the same. Desire can be clean. It can be alive, beautiful, and aligned. Desperation says, I am empty unless this arrives. Desperation checks, grasps, chases, and suffocates. Grace asks clearly, prepares faithfully, and remains open without terrorizing the blessing. Think of a fine restaurant. You place the order. You do not invade the kitchen, interrogate the chef, and ruin the meal through panic. You remain at the table. You enjoy the atmosphere. You trust that preparation is occurring where you cannot see. In spiritual life, the kitchen is the how. Much of the how belongs to divine intelligence. This does not mean everything comes in the form first imagined. Sometimes grace improves the request. Sometimes a delay protects. Sometimes a closed door saves you from a future you could not yet see. Sometimes what arrives is not smaller than your desire, but wiser. Letting go is not the end of creation. It is its completion. Plant, speak, feel, act, align, and then release. A seed cannot grow in a fist. A river cannot carry one who refuses to float. Grace is not laziness. It is cooperation with a power that was breathing you before you knew how to ask. When a burden will not leave the mind, use ritual. Write it down. Place it in a box, drawer, or sacred place. Say, I have done what I can see to do. I now hand this to higher wisdom. When the mind tries to pick it back up, remind it, this is no longer on my desk. Inspired action feels different from forced action. Forced action is frantic, heavy, resentful, and fear-driven. Inspired action may still require discipline, but it carries life. A simple nudge arrives. Make the call. Rest now. Speak truth. Drink water. Clear the room. Wait. Move. The nudge remains steady after panic quiets. Trust your wings more than the branch. External supports change. Jobs end, markets shift, people leave, bodies age, and circumstances move. If safety depends only on branches, every crack becomes terror. If safety depends on the divine life within and beneath you, a branch can break and you can still be carried. Surrender is tested when the old self would tighten. A delay appears. A person does not answer. The report is not clear. The money has not arrived. The old self grips. The new self breathes and listens. Sometimes action is required. Sometimes rest is required. Grace teaches the difference. The state of grace is not a mood that must be perfect. If fear returns, return to the river. Return to breath. Return to gratitude. Return to the box. Return to the phrase, I do not need to solve the whole map from here. Grace is a current you can re-enter. The deepest sign of grace is generosity. When you trust the source, another person's harvest does not threaten you. You can bless without feeling robbed. You can give without fearing emptiness. You can receive without guilt. The current is larger than one channel. The river beneath effort has carried you longer than you know. You were breathed before you understood breathing. You were guided through dangers you did not recognize. You were sustained through nights you thought would break you. Surrender is not falling into nothing. It is relaxing into the current that was always beneath you. The ego often fears surrender because it imagines that if control ends, carelessness begins. But surrender is not carelessness. It may be the most responsible state because it frees energy for the actual next step instead of wasting it on imaginary control. The surrendered person is not asleep. They are available. Availability is the open hand of faith. available to act, available to wait, available to be corrected, available to receive through an unexpected channel, available to release a form that no longer fits, available to be surprised by a wisdom larger than the plan. This kind of openness is difficult for the old self, because the old self prefers familiar suffering to unfamiliar grace. Surrender also requires humility about the form of the answer. The mind may ask for one door while God prepares another. It may ask for a person while grace prepares self-return. It may ask for immediate relief while deeper healing requires a wiser sequence. The prayer should be clear, but the soul must remain open to the intelligence behind fulfillment. When fear returns, do not dramatize it. Fear returning is not proof that surrender failed. It is an old habit asking whether it still has a job. Answer with breath. Answer with gratitude. Answer with one clean action or one clean release. The river does not reject you because you tightened for a moment. It receives you again when you relax. Grace is the final correction of pride and despair. Pride says, I alone must make everything happen. Despair says, nothing can happen. Grace says, I participate with a living source. I act, and I am carried. I prepare, and I release. I choose, and I trust. I am not alone inside the current. Surrender becomes easier when you remember previous unseen help. Times when strength arrived, times when a delay protected you, times when a door closed and later you were grateful, times when a person appeared, an idea came, a path opened, or peace rose without explanation. Memory can either feed fear or nourish trust. Choose which memories become witnesses. The river of grace does not remove the need for discernment. Not every current is divine. Some currents are habit, compulsion, avoidance, or emotional excitement. True guidance often carries a clear steadiness beneath movement. False urgency consumes and contracts. Return to the heart before following every impulse. There is also surrender after action. Many people do the right thing and then ruin their peace by mentally controlling the outcome. They make the call, then rehearse every possible response. They plant the seed, then stare at the soil with suspicion. Complete the action and release the result. The action belongs to obedience. The outcome belongs to a larger field. The final freedom is to participate without possessiveness, to love without owning, work without worshipping results, pray without panic, desire without desperation, act without believing you are alone, and rest without guilt. This is not a small state. It is the river carrying the soul home to trust. Conclusion. The signal that remains. We have moved through the chambers of the hidden current. We began with tuning because life is not only forced, it is received. We looked at the world as a mirror because appearances reveal more than surface. We entered the soil beneath the mind because the subconscious grows what has been planted with feeling. We purified the word because speech shapes the field. We honored hidden growth because every harvest has a season beneath the soil. We tuned the heart because feeling carries force. We honored the body because the soul needs an instrument. We reclaimed attention because the lighthouse must be directed. We renewed identity because blessings must have a self that can receive them. We listened to relationships because other souls reveal our hidden tone. Finally, we entered the river of grace because the highest life is not strain, but cooperation with God. Now the teaching must become ordinary. Not ordinary in the sense of weak or forgettable, but ordinary in the sense of lived. A book can stir the heart. A chapter can open the mind. But only repeated choice changes the atmosphere of a life. The signal must enter the morning, the mouth, the bill, the pain, the meal, the phone call, the silence, the bed, and the next conversation. Do not despise the old self. It worried because it thought worry protected you. It complained because it thought complaint was truth. It held resentment because it thought memory was justice. It feared age because it believed time was only loss. Bless the one who survived. Then remove that former self from command. You are not the total architect of every event. Life contains mystery, other wills, timing, and the sovereignty of God. But you are the steward of inner atmosphere. You can choose what enters consciousness repeatedly. You can choose whether the morning begins tuned or scattered. You can choose whether the tongue blesses or curses. You can choose whether attention hunts for abandonment or evidence of grace. A cathedral is built through repeated placement, one stone then another, One corrected word, one grateful breath, one resentment released, one night entered with trust, one meal blessed, one boundary spoken, one act of care for the body, one return to the new identity when the old one calls. Do not underestimate small faithfulness. Great structures are made of repeated obedience. If this teaching has opened something in you, the full written edition is available through the link in the description. Return to it slowly when the old frequency tries to reclaim your attention. Let the words become practice, the practice become identity, and the identity become a new life. Do not say it is too late. Some trees give their deepest shade only after decades. Some prayers can only be spoken by one who has been humbled. Some wisdom cannot enter until illusions have been burned away. Maturity is not a sentence. It can become an altar. Your change blesses more than you. Fear travels through families, but so does faith. Scarcity travels, but so does stewardship. Resentment travels, but so does forgiveness. When one person changes frequency, the invisible tree is touched. You may become the place where an old pattern stops moving unconsciously. When you forget, return without drama. The path is not ruined by one fearful morning or one careless sentence. Correct it. Tune again. The mature soul practices return. Return is not failure. Return is faith in motion. Let your remaining years become increasingly musical. May the static lessen. May the body feel blessed rather than criticized. May money move with less fear. May relationships echo more truth. May time become a friend of harvest. May surrender become relief. The divine current is not a distant secret. It is the living movement beneath breath, the intelligence behind repair, the love beneath courage, the order inside meaningful timing, and the peace that remains when the heart finally stops fighting the river. Stand now as one willing to listen differently. The world may look familiar tomorrow, but you are not required to meet it as the same person. Tune the instrument. Guard the signal. Walk with the current. The music has not ended. It has been waiting for you to hear it from a deeper place. The final work is not to remember every sentence perfectly. It is to embody one law today. Tune before entering the world's noise. Bless one word before it leaves your mouth. Plant one seed before sleep. Protect 1 hour of attention. Release one resentment. Care for the body once with reverence. Walk as the new self for one ordinary task. These are the stones of the cathedral. Do not wait for a dramatic sign to begin. The next ordinary problem will show you what has been received. A bill, an ache, a delay, a difficult message, a lonely hour, a moment of fear. That is not an interruption. That is the teaching becoming real. Meet it with the new frequency, and evidence begins. The current is not reserved for saints, mystics, or the untouched. It is available to the one who is breathing now, choosing now, returning now. God is not waiting for a younger version of you, a perfect version of you, or a version without history. The current can move through the life you actually have. Let the images remain with you. Mirror, soil, word, seed, heart, instrument, lighthouse, garment, echo, river. These are not ornaments. They are instruments. Play them, practice them, return to them. Let the field answer through time. May the signal clear. May the static lessen. May your speech become clean, your heart coherent, your body honored, your attention sovereign, your identity renewed, your relationships truthful, and your surrender peaceful. The divine current is already moving. Walk forward as one who has learned to listen. From this point, the teaching will test itself in life, not in a dramatic stage, but in the next ordinary hour. The way you speak after a small disappointment, the way you breathe when fear appears, the way you bless money leaving your hand, the way you treat the body when it asks for care, the way you meet a person who once controlled your emotional weather. This is where the book becomes evidence. Carry no pressure to transform everything at once. Pressure is often the old frequency wearing spiritual clothing. Choose one practice and make it faithful. The faithful practice will begin touching other areas by resonance. A clean morning affects speech. Clean speech affects the heart. A coherent heart affects attention. Directed attention affects identity. Renewed identity affects relationship. The current moves through the whole system. Let the final dignity be this: you are not too late to become tuned. The life behind you is not wasted material. It is compost, evidence, instruction, and sacred history. The remaining life does not need to imitate youth. It can become something deeper, a clear instrument, a wise heart, a clean word, a steady light, a rivered soul. The divine current is not waiting beyond achievement. It is already beneath the breath. Enter it through the next word, the next thought, the next act of care, the next surrender. The signal can still clear. The music can still change. The life can still answer differently. If this book has spoken to something real within you, let this not be the final moment of the journey. Subscribe to this channel and return whenever you need to remember the current beneath your life, the signal behind your thoughts, and the divine intelligence still moving through your becoming. More teachings are waiting here for the part of you that knows your story is not finished. Your frequency can still rise, and your life can still become a clearer instrument of grace.